Government-led pressure on certain media outlets continues unabated as the Istanbul Prosecutor's Office has launched an investigation into several dailies on the grounds of propagating a terrorist group because they published an image from a hostage crisis in which Prosecutor Mehmet Selim Kiraz was taken captive and killed. Kiraz was taken hostage on Tuesday by two militants from the outlawed Revolutionary People's Liberation Party/Front, DHKP/C, at the Çağlayan Courthouse in Istanbul in reaction to the stalled investigation into the death of Berkin Elvan, 14, who was murdered by the police while reportedly going to buy bread. The militants had asked those police officers who killed Elvan to confess to their crimes in a live broadcast. While the rescue operation conducted by the police resulted in the death of Kiraz and the two militants, many newspapers including pro-government and independent ones that published a photo of Kiraz with a gun pointed to his head are facing a criminal complaint by the Istanbul Prosecutor Office. Soon after the photo was published by certain independent media outlets such as Hürriyet, Cumhuriyet, Posta, Bugün, Sözcü, Ortadoğu, and Milli Gazete, Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoğlu accused those newspapers of immorality and banned critical media organs from attending the funeral service for Kiraz on Wednesday. However, those pro-government media outlets that also published the same photo were not included in the investigation, indicating clear discrimination and censorship of critical dailies. Moreover, speaking after the funeral, Davutoğlu announced that he was the one who instructed the police to ban access to the funeral service, arguing that those media outlets should have respected the prosecutor's family's pain and not published terrorist propaganda, also warning them, from now on, everyone has to be careful with their behavior. Like Davutoğlu, President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan also blasted those media outlets that published the photo, accusing them of treason. In his remarks to a group of journalists en route to Turkey from Slovakia, the president said media bosses insist on not taking the government's interests into account in their publications. Erdoğan asked if the bosses should have to be called up and instructed not to publish the photo, which he said cannot be removed both on social media and newspapers. In response to Erdoğan's accusations and Davutoğlu's insulting remarks targeting media outlets including Hürriyet, one of Turkey's leading newspapers, the Doğan Media Group published an editorial statement criticizing Erdoğan and Davutoğlu's stance on the issue. Hürriyet hits back at Davutoğlu over media ban at funeral accusations. Hürriyet criticized Davutoğlu on Friday over a selective ban on media outlets attending the funeral prayer for Kiraz, emphasizing that a prime minister who assumes the authority to punish members of the media has no place in a democracy. In a strongly worded editorial statement on its first page, Hürriyet disputed the media ban imposed by Davutoğlu against a large number of news outlets, including the Doğan Media Group, during the funeral prayer of the slain prosecutor in the Eyüp Sultan Mosque on Wednesday. The Daily argued that its reporters were barred from doing their jobs by the security guards of the Prime Ministry on the instruction of Davutoğlu and that this ban was also enforced during Davutoğlu's press briefing, held in Eyüp's district governorate building after the funeral ceremony. Drawing attention to Davutoğlu's remarks questioning the morals of the press outlets that had published the picture of Prosecutor Kiraz with a gun pressed to his head by a militant, remarks that equated the publishing of this photo with immorality and contributing to terrorist propaganda, the Daily fiercely defended itself against the Prime Minister's accusations. In addition to the ban on certain members of the media, Davutoğlu's discourse is also problematic. We reject his accusations of immorality and publishing terrorist propaganda leveled against us and many others for running a story accompanied by the photo. The words that he articulated and the method that he resorted to prevent media outlets from attending the funeral service do not befit him. We believe a prime minister engaging in efforts to ban certain dailies has no place in well-functioning democracies where freedom of the press truly exists, the statement continued. The statement also said Hürriyet is an independent newspaper and should not be confused for a political party's newspaper. News outlets from the Doğan media conglomerate such as the Hürriyet Daily, the Radical News Portal, the Posta Daily, CNN Turk and the Kanal D television station, as well as the MC and the Samanyolu and Bugün television stations, were all barred from entering the mosque to cover the funeral prayer. The Sajku, Taraf, Millet, Bugun, Zaman, Cumhuriyet, Ordudu, Yenia, and Burgun dailies were also prevented from entering the mosque. Hurriyet, the Doan media group's flagship daily, insisted that Prime Minister Davutoglu's serious accusations are related to the debate about press freedoms regarding cases of terrorism, and emphasized that it had published the report of Kiraz's death with the controversial photo under the headline, "Condemnation of Terrorism," in an effort to honor the boundary between people's right to access information and promoting terrorist propaganda. Stressing that Wednesday's media ban is not the first sanction that Hurriyet has encountered, the Daily said it also faced media bans during the September 12 coup regime and was slammed by the elected government due to its publications. The Daily also recalled an astronomical fine levied against Hurriyet and said Prime Minister Davutoglu may have forgotten the terrorist attack that targeted its previous editor-in-chief Seaton Imek when criticizing the Daily for terrorism propaganda. When today's history is written in the future, our current Prime Minister will be noted as a political personality who punished the media and banned journalists from working during funerals, Hurriyet noted. Speaking to today's Zaman regarding the intensifying pressure on those critical media outlets by the government and Erdogan, Media Ethics Council, MEC, Secretary General Nejat Sezik said the government has consistently discriminated against critical media outlets, adding, "The government holds a stick in its hand to hit those who do not comply with its demands." Hurriyet has extensive knowledge on how to conduct its journalism business for decades. No political authority can teach the Daily how it should do its work. For almost a year and a half now, the government has been increasing its pressure and bans on the press. This is also problematic in terms of the proper functioning of a democracy. Sezik emphasized that the government's stance is also an obstacle to the public's freedom to access information, adding, "A large part of society has no access to impartial coverage due to the government's involvement in the media." The scope of pressure, intimidation, and censorship on the media is growing day by day under the government's initiative. Main opposition Republican People's Party, CHP, Deputy Mehmet Tanal also slammed the government for taking a hypocritical stance against the press as it has, on one hand, engaged in talks with Abdullah Öcalan, the head of the outlawed Kurdistan Workers' Party, PKK, who is in prison for acts of terrorism, while on the other it accuses certain media outlets of portraying terrorists as innocent. Pro-government media outlets compete with each other to portray Öcalan as an esteemed and innocent man, as though he did not lead a terrorist organization and was not responsible for the deaths of thousands of civilians and Turkish soldiers for decades. However, the government, with the aim of intimidating those media outlets critical of it, is fabricating offenses to target them, Tanal commented.